Hello, I'm Benjamin Sullivan, and welcome to another episode of Ben's Tech Support. If you could please excuse me, you may notice that my voice sounds a little bit muffled. Well, I'm currently overcoming a cold right now, so that's why my voice doesn't sound normal, but I'm still going to go ahead and make this episode. This will be the first episode of Ben's Tech Support for 2024. Now, if you saw the last episode of Ben's Tech Support, then you know in the last episode I upgraded the monitor stand. It's the same monitor, but now it's on a monitor mount, no longer the original stand, and I upgraded the keyboard and mouse. But I did make a mistake. In the last video I mentioned that I upgraded to a mechanical keyboard. Well, as it turns out, I realize now this keyboard is actually not a true mechanical keyboard. It looks and feels like one, but it's still not a true mechanical keyboard. So that was a mistake on my part, but hey, I'm human. We all make mistakes, right? And I feel like anyone could have made that mistake because not only do these type of keyboards look and feel like mechanical keyboards, but even on Amazon, keyboards of this style are listed as mechanical feeling, so anyone could have made that mistake. But you know what, on a positive side, even though it's not a true mechanical keyboard, I still got it for very cheap, and it's still much nicer than my old one, so it's still a win-win overall. In the near future, I might go ahead and correct the mistake by buying a true mechanical keyboard, but in the meantime, I'm happy with this one. It's still a lot nicer than my old one. Now, if you've been watching the series, then you'll know that I've used Beast in several other videos. I used Beast to show you how to replace the RAM, how to install the new video card, and how to upgrade the power supply. But today, we're not going to use Beast. Beast gets a break today. We're going to go over to my older computer, the one I call Blue. And here it is. This is my desktop computer that I call Blue. Now, believe it or not, I've had Blue for over 12 years now. Now, Blue was not the first computer I ever built, but he was the first computer I built specifically to be a gaming machine. If you've been watching my videos for a while, then you may have noticed this machine in other videos, even going as far back to 2011 when Duke Nukem Forever first came out, and this was the first computer I played Duke Nukem Forever on. Now, Blue has had many upgrades over the years. I've upgraded the hard drive. It originally had a mechanical drive, but I upgraded to a solid state. When I first built it, it had Windows 7, but I've upgraded to Windows 10, and I've upgraded the memory. When I first built Blue, it only had 4 gigs, but I upgraded to 8, and then a few years later upgraded to 16. So as of right now, Blue has 16 gigabytes of RAM, a GTX 1080 8GB video card, and a 1 terabyte solid-state hard drive. The only thing that's still original besides the case is the motherboard and the processor. It's the same processor as the day I built him. It's an AMD Phenom 4-core 64-bit 3.0 GHz processor. Now, despite Blue's age, he still plays games pretty well. He just struggles with some of the newer games. But for many years, he was my primary computer until I built Beast. So now Beast is my primary and Blue is my secondary. Now let's bring the camera a little closer so we can see the case better. So the topic for this episode of Ben's Tech Support is how to rebuild your desktop computer in a whole new case. Now I have to be honest, despite its age, this is a pretty cool looking case, but there's a few reasons I've decided to upgrade the case. First of all, this case is very heavy. Not that I move it a whole lot, but still, I'd rather have something a little bit lighter. Second, it is an older case and it's missing one of the feet, so it is a little bit wobbly. Now, I could fix that, but still, I think I'd rather just get a new case. Also, I still use the disk drive a lot, and this case has a door on the front, and it's kind of annoying having to open and close it every time I use the disk drive, so I decided to get a new case that doesn't have a door on the front. And it's also a little bit beat up, and the USB ports on the side, you can't see them because they're on the other side, but there's USB ports on the side that have stopped working. So I decided, let's just go ahead and get a whole new case for Blue. So I ordered a case online. Here's a picture of the case that I ordered. It's in the box down there, so let's go ahead and get ready. The first thing I'm going to do is shut Blue down, so let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so blue is all shut down. I'm going to go ahead and prepare the workspace area, which is right next to blue. So let me go ahead and show you. So there's blue right there, and on the same table is the workspace area. So let me go ahead and get the mat. Okay, I'm laying the mat out because we're going to have to take the parts out of blue and lay them on there. Okay, so blue has been shut down, the workspace area is ready. Before we start taking components out of blue, let's go ahead and prepare the new case first. Okay, so the new case is in the box. I've got my pocket knife. Let's go ahead and open this baby up. I'm going to go ahead and lay this down. Well, here's the new case right here, and as you can see, I stuck with the blue theme, so the new case is still going to be a blue case. Let me go ahead and give you a closer look. So there's the side, and the front, there's the top, and the other side. Nice blue case, huh? So let's take a look at what's inside this case. I've got my handy dandy screwdriver. I'm going to take these screws off. Right here. I'll just put this down here for now. And so here's the inside of the new blue case. And as you can see, there's no hardware, no power supply, no motherboard, no hard drive, but that's okay because we're just going to take everything out of Blue's old case and rebuild it in here. But let me show you what it did come with. If you can look in here, you can see there's two fans in here. We still need a fan on the back. And let me tell you what I did. I noticed in the description for this item when I bought it online that it came with fans that have light up white LEDs, but since this is a blue case, I wanted to stay with the blue theme, so I bought some blue LED fans. So let's go ahead and install the fans first. But before I can install the new fans, I need to remove the old fans first. So that means it looks like first I need to take off the front cover panel. Okay, here's the front, and the panel has been removed. And so here's the two fans right here, the two fans that it came with. And remember, when you're installing fans in a computer case, the important thing is airflow. You don't want every fan to blow in, because what you want to do is you want to make sure you have air, cool air going in, but hot air going out. So usually front and side fans blow in, while the rear fan blows out. So these two fans are blowing in, which is good. Let's remove these two first. Almost done with removing the screws. All right. And then almost done with this one. And this is the last screw. Okay. Okay, so all the screws have been removed and the fans are no longer mounted, but the wires are still being fed through the case, so we need to trace the wires to remove them. So I'm going to turn the case. And here's the fans right here. They just go through a little hole in the side of the case that I can pull them out. There's one. And the second one is on its way out. There we go. And there we go, two fans. Perfectly good brand new fans, but they have white lights and I wanted blue lights. So now let me go ahead and get the new fans. And this box contains 3 of them, 2 for the front and 1 for the back. Okay, let's go ahead and empty this box out. And here we are, some beautiful new fans, and these ones are blue. I mean, the blades are a white color, but it's the lights that are blue, which we won't be able to see till we turn it on, but it's going to look really nice. So we're going to do the two front ones first, and the front ones we want to blow in. So here we go. Here's the front of the case right here. Let me go ahead and undo the tie wrap so I can run the wire through. And the wires are going through this little hole right here. So let's go ahead and get these new fans installed. Putting the screws in. All right, let's see. Okay, the first fan is done. Now let's do the second. Pretty much the same process. So we undid the tie wrap. Gonna feed the wire through. And then just line the screws up with the hole and put them in. And the last screw. And there we go. Two brand new fans installed in the front, blowing cool air in. Now we need to do one more fan on the back to blow the hot air out. So let's go ahead and turn the case around. And right here, this is where the rear fan is going to go. So the last fan right here, going to go ahead and undo the tie wrap on the wire. And then pretty much the same process, but we need to make sure that it's blowing air out of the case. So here's the bars right here. Let me show you something. If you look on a fan, one side has bars and the other side doesn't. The air comes out of the bars, so the air comes out of this side. So the side with the bars needs to be up against the back of the case. So I'll show you. Here's the back of the case right here. So this is the side that needs to go up against the back. And here's the screws that came with the fans. Here we go. Okay, all four screws have been tightened, so now we have three brand new fans installed in this case. Two in the front blowing cool air in, and one in the back blowing hot air out. And so all three of them are supposed to light up blue, so once the computer is finished built, I can't wait to see how it looks. Now, even though we're done with the fans, we're not going to put the front cover on back yet, because when we take all the components out of Blue's old case and put them in the new case, one of the things we need to do is install the DVD drive. Actually, now that I think about it, it's actually a Blu-ray drive. That's right. When I first built Blue years ago, it had a DVD drive, but I took it out and replaced it with a Blu-ray drive. But anyway, that's going to go up here. So we're going to wait till we put the Blu-ray drive in before we put the front cover back on. But let's go ahead and look inside the case. And there's a little box right here. Let's see what's in this box. Now, I know these are hard drive bays. Fractal design. Let's see what we got here. So basically a bag of motherboard screws, some hard drive screws, and tie wraps for the cables. These will come in handy. So what I'm going to do now is remove the new case from the workspace area temporarily so I can disconnect Blue, bring Blue over here, and then we'll disassemble all the parts out of Blue. And the time has come to say goodbye to this big Blue case. Thank you, Big Blue Case, for the many years you've housed this computer. You've done a great job, but the time has come to retire you. So now, let's go ahead and take all the components out of here, and then we're going to go ahead and rebuild the computer in a new Blue case. So, as you can see, Blue has been moved to the workspace area. First thing I'm going to do is remove the side panel. So I'm going to remove these two screws by hand, and take off the side panel. And then here's the cable that connects the fan. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect it. And now let's get a good look inside. So here are all the components inside Blue. We're going to take them all out. The power supply, motherboard, CPU, RAM, video card, solid state drive, and up here, now a Blu-ray drive. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so I've rolled up my sleeves and I've attached an anti-static wrist strap. First thing I'm going to take out is the video card because it's the biggest and most bulky device. So let's go ahead and take that out. So I'm going to unplug the power cable here. And then there's a screw here. Let's go ahead and take the screw out. Just going to gently lift up and the video card should pop right out. Okay, there we go. I got the video card out, a nice beautiful 1080. I'm going to put that aside on the mat. Okay, next I'm going to go ahead and pull out the solid state because this solid state was just kind of hanging there, so all I have to do is disconnect the two cables. One for data, one for power. Okay, next let's go ahead and do the power supply. It's right up here. I'm going to go ahead and take the screwdriver, and the screws are in the back. Let me go ahead and unscrew that. All 4 screws are in the back here. Okay, so all the screws have been removed from the power supply, but before we pull it out, we have to trace all the wires and make sure we disconnect all devices that are connected to it. So first, there's a cable right here for the CPU that's connected to the motherboard. Let's unplug that. And then there's another motherboard power connector, this big one right here. We'll unplug that. Okay, and now let's trace these wires and see if anything else is plugged in. The Blu-ray drive is probably still plugged in. Yep, right here. Okay, and that looks like everything, so now we can go ahead and gently pull the power supply out. Let's grab this and pull out the power supply. Okay, we're almost done here because as you can see, we still have the motherboard, the memory, and the processor is still there. But the thing is, because we're just installing this in a new case, we don't need to remove the memory or the processor. They can just stay on the motherboard and we can pull it out as is. So first, let's go ahead and disconnect this fan. And now we need to disconnect all these cables from the bottom of the motherboard. Okay, so now all components have been removed except for the motherboard. So now let's go ahead and remove the motherboard. So in order to remove the motherboard, we just need to carefully look for screws and remove any screws that we find. Here's one here, and one here. One down here in the corner. One up here in the top corner. And the last one is right here in the middle. We'll go ahead and take this one out. And that should be all of them. So I'm just going to gently grab the sides of the motherboard and lift up and see if it pops out. Okay, and I think I got it. Alright, I was able to remove the motherboard with the processor and the memory still connected. And I'm going to go ahead and put that on the mat. And then one last thing we still need to pull out of the case is the motherboard back plate, because we need to put this in the new case in order for the motherboard ports to line up. Okay, so I went ahead and removed the old blue case, and let's look at everything we've got here. There's the motherboard with the RAM and the processor, the power supply, the solid state drive, and the video card. So now let's go ahead and rebuild this in the new case. Okay, so here's the motherboard, and here's the back plate, and here's the new case lying down on its side. First thing we're going to do is install the back plate right there, and we need to make sure it's facing the right direction. So here's the motherboard. The back plate fits on the ports just like that. So let's go ahead and take it, and we should be able to just slide it in and just push it in place. Hard to do with one hand. Yeah, I had to put the camera down to use both hands, but I went ahead and secured it in place. So there's the backplate for the motherboard. So if we look at it from the outside of the case, there it is. It's been installed, so when we install the motherboard, that's where all the ports will line up. Now, before we install the motherboard, let me show you what we need to do next. So you know the motherboard screws into the case, so you can see there's holes in the motherboard like here, and here, and here. Those are all screw holes. Now the screw holes need to line up with these holes right here, but they don't screw in directly to the holes. Instead, there's little pieces that we need to put in place for the screws to screw into, and I'll show you right now. So this is the bag of screws that came with the motherboard. Let's go ahead and empty it out. Now these little pieces right here, they look like this, maybe hard to see, but basically those screw into the holes in the case, and then the motherboard will screw into that hole right there. So I'll show you. We go over here. I'm going to screw this one into the little hole in the corner right there. And there you can see I just installed that one. And I'm going to do the same for all these other holes that we see. So repeat the process, then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so I went ahead and installed all the pegs. There's one here, there's a few up here. Maybe hard to see, it's a little dark here, but basically I installed all the pegs that the screws will go in, and we have the back plate installed. So now the next step is to pick up the motherboard and gently lay the motherboard in place. Okay, so I'm going to gently pick up the motherboard, gently bring it over to the case, and line it up with the screws in the back plate, and gently push it in. So now let's take a look at the case. If we look on the inside of the case, we can see the motherboard is laying down and it looks like all the holes are lined up. And then on the back of the case, there we are. See, notice how we have the ports of the motherboard lined up with the back plate. So now it's time to screw the motherboard back in place. So basically just the reverse process of when we unscrewed it out of the old case. So I've got my screwdriver and my screws. And I'm just going to go ahead and gently put a screw wherever there's a screw hole. There we go, I feel it screwing in place. And then just repeat the process for each one. Okay, and that's the last screw right there. So the motherboard has been screwed in place. So what I'm going to do now is stand the case up, and if the motherboard doesn't fall out, then we know it's been secured properly. Let's go ahead and try it. Alright, it feels nice and secure, not even budging. Okay, so the motherboard install was a success, and we already have the memory and processor in there. So now let's go ahead and do the power supply and the video card next. And we could probably even leave the case standing up for those. Okay, so here's the power supply. Now what's different is in the old case the power supply was at the top. This one, it's at the bottom. So we need to make sure that it's lined up properly. We want the fan to blow up. So here's the fan side of the power supply. It needs to blow up. And here's the power port. So we know that's the back of the case. So it should slide in just like this. And now let's turn to the back, and let me lower the camera a little. And so let's go ahead and line it up, make sure it lines up with the screw holes. Yep, and then I'm going to go ahead and get some screws and secure it in place. Okay, all 4 screws have been tightened, so the power supply is secured and in place. Let's go ahead and move the camera a little. And I just realized now I forgot to film myself removing the Blu-ray drive from the old case, but I went ahead and pulled it out. Here it is right here. Now installing it in the new case should be pretty easy for the most part. So I'm going to go ahead and install the Blu-ray drive. I should be able to just slide it in place from the front. And then I should be able to just screw it in place once I line it up with the holes. Now the next major component should be the video card, and the video card's going to go right here, but the reason I'm not going to install it just yet is because down here, these are the pins where we need to connect cables like the USB and the power cables, and so if we do the video card first, it'll make it harder to get under there because there's not going to be much room. So let's go ahead and do these cables first, then we'll do the graphics card next. So the most important one of these cables is the power switch. If we don't have the power switch connected, we can't even turn the computer on. So let's see, it looks like power switch is these two down here. And then one of these is for audio and one is for USB. So I gotta go ahead and get these connected. Okay, so down here I have the front panel wires connected. This one is for the USB ports at the front, and then this one is for the power switch. So that's all taken care of. Next step, we'll go ahead and do the graphics card, which is going to go in this PCI Express slot right here, but the 1080 uses up 2 slots, so we're going to need to remove 2 of these slot covers. So I'm going to go ahead and unscrew these 2 screws and remove the slot covers. There's 1 and 2. Okay, both slot covers have been removed, so now I'm going to grab the video card. Here it is, a GeForce GTX 1080, and I'm just going to carefully line it up, and then gently press till it snaps in place. Okay, now that it's in place, I just have to screw it in place to secure it. Okay, graphics card is nice and secured. So let's go over all the components you have to have when you're building or rebuilding a computer. You have to have a motherboard, we've got that. Processor, we've got that. RAM, we've got that. Video card, we got that. Power supply, we've got that. And the only major component still missing is where all of our data is. A hard drive or a solid state drive. So I'm just going to go ahead and slip the solid state drive into here for right now. I'll worry about mounting it later, but now we just need to do all the wiring and then we should be good to go. So we're almost done here. Okay, I went ahead and stood the case up and we're down to the wire here. Yes, pun intended, down to the wire, because all we have to do is just connect all the wires and then we're good to go. So let's go ahead and start with the power supply. I'll move the camera closer. So the power supply is down here. We need to connect the cables to the motherboard and to the video card, as well as the Blu-ray drive and the solid state drive. So we'll start with this big thick one right here. This is going to connect to the motherboard, so it goes right, you can see it, this is going to go right here. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. Okay. Now, there's another one that needs to connect to the top of the motherboard for the CPU. I know it's hard to see, lighting may not be that great, but it's right up there. It's a 4-pin. So let me find a 4-pin coming out of the power supply. Okay, 4-pin connector for the CPU. Let me go ahead and plug that in. Okay, then we need an 8-pin connector for the graphics card. Okay, so now the graphics card. Okay, so we have power going to the graphics card, the motherboard, and the CPU. That's good. We need power to go to the disk drive, the Blu-ray drive, and the solid state drive. So let's go ahead and find those next. Both of those are going to use SATA power connectors, which look like this. So I'm going to go ahead and run one up to the top here. And it may look like a mess at first, but don't worry, I have Velcro straps so I can take care of managing the wires later. And then we need one to go down to the solid state, which is right down here. Yeah, I'll Velcro all this up later. So here it is, and then this is going to go to the solid state drive. And the thing is, generally, you don't want to Velcro up all the wires until you test the computer. Make sure it works first, and then once everything is working, then you can go back and tie wrap everything up. Okay, so we have power from the power supply going to the video card, the motherboard, the CPU, the Blu-ray drive, and the solid state drive. Now, we don't want our computer to overheat, so we need to make sure we give power to our fans too. So we have this one that plugs directly into the motherboard, and now we have the 2 front ones. Here's the 2 front ones. I connected them together. Let's find something that'll power these guys. I'll go ahead and use this one right here. Okay. And now I need to grab 2 SATA cables. And I have 2 right here. One's red and one's blue, because one is going to be for the solid state drive and the other one's going to be for the Blu-ray drive. Might as well use the blue cable for Blu-ray, right? So one end is going to connect to the back of the Blu-ray drive up here. And the other end is going to plug directly into the motherboard. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this in up here. And then the other end is going to plug directly into a SATA port on the motherboard, which is right underneath the video card. Now I realize I should have done this before the video card, but I can still reach. And then, so there we are, the blue cable going into the motherboard. It's hard to see the port, but it's on the motherboard under the video card. And then one more, this one will be for the solid state drive. Okay, so all the wires should be connected that we need, but it looks a bit of a mess right now. But what I'm going to do is, just for the time being, because we want to test the computer first, is I'm just going to go ahead and carefully shove everything in here, and then after a successful test, I'll use Velcro to tie everything up. So let's go ahead and just push everything under here. Okay, so all the wires are inside of the case. So first thing I'm going to do is put the front panel back on. So let's scoot this back. Let me grab the front panel. Okay, so I have the front panel, and it should just pop in place like this. Okay, not too hard. Now the only thing is that looks like the Blu-ray drive may need to be adjusted, so let me go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so there's the new case. I went ahead and adjusted the Blu-ray drive, so now it's nice and flush, and I went ahead and put the side panel back on. So as of right now, it's fully built, so let's go ahead and put it over where it belongs, hook it up, and let's see if it's successful. Okay, so I moved the blue computer in its new blue case back to where it belongs, and as you can see in the back, I went ahead and connected all the wires. We have the network cable, the video cable, the power cable, and all the USB cables, so everything is there. Now let's go ahead and straighten it up. And there's the new setup. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the power button, and if I did everything correctly, the computer should power on, we should see blue lights from the fans, and it should boot into Windows, and all my information will still be there because it's the same hard drive, and we should also be able to open the Blu-ray drive as well. So let's go ahead and power it on and see what happens. So here's the power button. Let's hope I did this the right way. Okay. It's making noise and I'm seeing blue lights. So far, so good. There we go. Up, it's turning on. Okay, so we've got the blue lights on the front, and then those blue lights from the back. And it's booting into Windows. And there it is. All my information is still there, so it's the same computer, just in a whole new case. Okay, well, it looks like the project of rebuilding my blue computer inside a new blue case was a success. So far, everything still seems to be working. Blu-ray drive works, right? Alright, I think we're good to go. But of course, even though this computer's a little bit older, it's still a gaming machine, so we still gotta play a game on it to do a final test, right? I wonder what game I should play. I know this is an older game, but that's okay. I still like this game. It's Left 4 Dead 2, one of my favorite zombie games. Let's go ahead and give it a try.
Chopper's leaving! You think they saw us? He's burning down. They're not coming back. Don't worry. Get into the mall. We can catch them there.
Sounds good. Let's grab some weapons and get the hell out of here.
Not carrying your gun.
Oh.
Alright, it's still running good. Ooh. Jockey! Well, I'm happy with the results. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you found it useful. If you're going to do the same thing, if you're going to rebuild your desktop in a whole new case, I wish you the best of luck. And thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe. Have a great day, everyone.